Okay, verse 13, he delivered us from the authority of darkness, transferred us into the reign of his son. So transference has the idea that you've been moved. You were here and now you're here. So you were under one authority, now you're under a different authority. You had one destiny, now you have a different destiny, okay? But by the way, did he just like pick you up and move you, or did he give you the directions on how to move? He didn't do this like just lift you up and put you over somewhere. He did not take Abram and just pick him up and put him in the land. He didn't take Moses and the Israelites and do that either. He guided them there, okay? But there was a transference. Really, the main transference is what? Authority, okay? And you're walking under a different authority. What we have is a mind shift that Yeshua brings into the mix. The Father brings us to see and think differently, to understand and think differently. So he's saying that this is not just going to be about, well, you know, he did this thing and he restored because of his blood. He says, no, it's all about the rest of the picture. I mean, if he hadn't done what he did, the rest of the picture wouldn't get us anywhere. We would still earn death, and that would be the end of it. But the rest of the picture is, now that I've made it possible for you to live, I need you to think differently so that you can live. I need you to think differently, which means redefining very core terms, like we're doing here with the idea of good, something simple. You would think, well, I mean, we all know what good is. Well, do we? What does he expect of us? Because the mainstream Christian will say that the expectation has changed from the Exodus 19 mindset and covenant to some, I don't even know what it is now, where there is really no real defining things. Because they might just hang on to the few places like where Yeshua happened to mention not committing adultery, not committing murder, or whatever, you know, the few little commandments that he actually mentioned specifically. They'll ignore that he said he kept the Sabbath with his brothers like was his tradition, because he never told them to do it, so that one's out, okay? He told them, you know, of old it says not to murder, and I'm gonna make it a little deeper. No, of old it said this, I'm gonna make it a little deeper. But yet at the same time, they can't give you a good answer what his desire is. Well, he desires us to believe in Messiah. Well, what does that actually mean anyway? We have these really horrible context problems. I'm not saying these verses have not been and cannot be interpreted in some whatever bizarre way you want. I could take any verses in the Old Testament and interpret them any bizarre way I want. You can do whatever you want, okay? There was a guy that wanted to show just how you could take things out of context and use the Old Testament to prove that his rooster was the Messiah. By taking a verse here and there that you could use to make a case that his rooster was the Messiah. I'm not making this up. It was a brilliant, brilliant piece of work, okay? Not that it was that his rooster was Messiah, but I'm saying how you could take verses that say whatever, I mean, literally make the word say anything you want. You know, people say statistics you can use to say whatever you want. You can make the word say whatever you want. Yes, he has provided the ability to be restored to favor. He has created the path to favor restoration. In other words, you don't need to do what you can't do to fix that problem, but what you can do is stop making it worse. Stop doing the things that were the wicked works that were in the wrong mindset. Your mind was wrong. You were enemies in the way you thought. Enemies meaning you were opposed to the proper authority that your mind should have been focused on. In opposition, that's not the word enemies. Okay, you were in opposition to his mindset. So just realize that these are the kinds of things that Paul says, and people take it as just this global universal thing, missing the rest of the context. Why would he give you eternal life if you haven't actually done anything? Okay, if you're on a job, are you gonna get a promotion without doing anything? Are you gonna get a raise without doing anything? You have to do something and do it well. That's why you get to hear the words, well done. That's where you get the reward, right? Remember, we're talking about the difference between salvation and reward here. You get the reward of the kingdom, Eternal life is a reward, it's not salvation. Salvation and eternal life are not the same thing. Salvation is what restores you to favor so that you can have eternal life. Everybody has that. Everybody has that. He died and made that possible. Okay? So now the reward is available. Without it, there's no reward to have. But one does not equal the other. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have our heart providing all kinds of filters that our head can't really work through, because the emotions are a real major problem to thinking right. I don't like, I don't want, I like, I want. These are all strong emotions that get in the way of this, because then it's your desire that's getting in the way of his desire. And you can't even see his desire, because now you're trying to find ways to justify that your desire is his desire. That is not going to work. Well, you may think it does, but this is where you get to be one of those wonderful people that says, Lord, Lord, and he says, I don't even know you, okay? Because those guys had that same problem I just described. They thought emotionally, I'm doing what he wants because I've decided that what I want is what he wants. We did all the stuff in your name. No, you did what you wanted in my name. You didn't do what I wanted in my name because you were doing lawlessness. And having been found in a fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, death even of a snake. Obedience is the desire of Elohim. But in order to be obedient, you have to empty yourself. You have to empty you out of yourself. It can't be the I don't like, I don't want, me, I stuff. You have to empty yourself. Remember, he came to show us what this could look like and should look like if done right. Okay? He humbled himself and became obedient unto death. That's a mindset that you might want to work on. It's not an easy one. Obedient unto death. Obedient to what? Well, he did whatever the Father said. Father said keep the Sabbath. Father said keep the holy days. Father said don't eat shrimp, don't eat pork. What part of this are you having a hard time with? Work out your own deliverance or salvation with fear and trembling. What is he saying, work out your own salvation? By the way, I don't know how anybody who says that works are not involved in any relationship whatsoever to salvation would Paul say, work out your salvation. Okay? I mean, like he literally says to work it out. So what is he saying? That you works earns you salvation? No. He's saying you work out so that the salvation offered actually ends up having value. Do it. Now that you know that he's provided a path to salvation where you can then have the reward of eternal life, you need to work towards that. Otherwise, you still don't get it. It just was available to you and you squandered it. Look at the next verse. Verse 10 says, for we are his workmanship, created in Messiah unto good works. So he chose you, he poked your bubble, he believed in you, he delivered you out of all of that nonsense so you could be a new creation to do good works. Now that's not what they teach you, okay? Which Elohim prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. When did he prepare beforehand? Oh, you mean like from the beginning of all things, and maybe then again at Sinai, and so these are things from older times that we need to walk in. See, so the expectation, if you actually follow it, is that you were doing nothing useful, then by favor, his favor, not yours, he chose to pull you to a place where you could see a choice with the desire that in seeing it, you would be recreated or a new creation unto good works.